Hello, Raleigh. This is citizen reporter Robert Courts coming to you from the Your Backyard Raleigh Network. And I am tickled to death to have the opportunity to speak with Eugene Myrick, who is running for mayor of Raleigh. Eugene, thank you for spending your time with me today.
Thank you for having me. I truly appreciate the opportunity.
Well, Eugene, in the spirit of full disclosure, we've known each other for a couple years.
Yeah.
I have seen your advocacy in the local government and in the community, and I am very tickled that you decide to run for mayor.
I guess that's putting it lightly that you tickled, because you have called me crazy behind closed doors now. You have called me crazy.
Well, I think anyone who's willing to put themselves out there as a candidate position has a screw loose, but I am very grateful that you, as a citizen and an involved citizen, is running. But why? Why do this? Why put yourself out there like that?
You know, I went to city council for several issues. First, in regards to the rezoning of Shaw University, I was in full opposition of that. But more important, even more important than that, I live in Southeast Raleigh, Biltmore Hills, older neighborhood, and we're literally flooding. Literally flooding. You have the creek off of Garner Road. When it rains, I can always tell, it's funny, the old folks used to say, I could tell when it rained because their knee hurt or something. I could tell when it rained because the animals start coming from over to the park to my backyard. So I can always tell when something is about to go down. But we're literally flooding over there. And there's actually a pool of money. So when they start building on the other side of South Saunders and things like that, there's a pool of money for us to alleviate the flooding. So if you know we're flooding, why would you all continue to do this type of building over there? So there's a bunch of so the first, of course, the home base issues, but then just looking at Raleigh from when I first came in 1990, the unaffordability, the homelessness on every other corner, every exit, you see an encampment. So you have to be concerned about other people to want to do this.
Well, you make a good point. I saw a study where to live in Raleigh, you need to make $106,000. And who makes that kind of money? Not the average folk. The mean income is much lower than that. So we do have a real problem of affordability.
Right. And this is where the phrase affordable housing has been basically usurped, because you'll have the developers actually come before city council and say, yeah, we're going to do affordability based on 60% of the AMI. Now, if you're just listening, 60% of the AMI, you're basically talking about $60,000 a year, $5,000 a month. Even for those who say, yeah, we're going to do affordability based on 30% of the AMI, you're still talking about $2,500 a month. So there's people who are just being priced out, all over the city. So it makes no sense that. And the crazy thing about it is the city actually subsidizes some of this unaffordability. So that's the part that gets me. It's insane.
Well, I know you've been on the homeless issue. I know that's very important to you. But as I understand, there might be one or two more that have motivated you to put yourself out on the candidate trail like this.
Yeah, so you have the homeless issue, you have the unaffordability, and then the city just being turned over to like every developer. Any developer that wants a piece of Raleigh, they can get it, it seems like. But this is something that people are not keeping in mind. When they do these large developments, and somebody say, yeah, we're going to build 100 units. And so you have some city council members who are saying, even the mayor, oh, we need all types of housing. No, you don't. You need affordable housing, truly affordable housing. And then they don't realize, like, some of these developers, that most of them are not from here. Mm-hmm. And then the housing ends up on Wall Street. By what I mean by that, you have First Key Homes, you have Open Door, you have a lot of these companies. So if you build 100 townhouses, maybe 50 to 75 of them get bought up by these Wall Street companies. They're not local home landlords. And you have issues in it. And most of the rents probably start at $2,000. So you end up with these large developments, overcrowding neighborhoods. It's so much that goes into it, with an average person, legacy residents, I guess as they're called now, are just being not only forced out, but their neighborhoods are now being overcrowded. You actually have a supermarket, a Food Lion in Southeast Raleigh that literally runs out of food toward the end of the month.
You know, that is a huge and significant problem. And there's a lot of ways to address it. But I want to go back to what you said earlier about the seemingly rubber stamped developers get what they want. You know, is there a way to combat that, Mr. Myrick?
Yeah, vote the folks out that's doing it. You know, I'm not against development, but let's be smart about it. You know, you have the city not requiring parking, but yet you're going to approve a 30-story development. You know, the current mayor and you know, a few other folks in the city council, they seem to want to say they hate cars and oh, we want to improve traffic, but right now they're talking about closing down East Street. So you want traffic to flow into downtown, but then it will have nowhere to go if you close down East Street. So there's some things that's happening that defies logic.
I see that often. I hear the city saying one thing, the councilors are often saying something else, and there's a big disconnect. And it's not until the city management does something like close South Street or try to cancel a 75-year Christmas tradition as the parade until they get pushback. Do you see this disconnect too, Mr. Myrick?
I definitely see the disconnect. And the sad thing is some of them act like, and I'm saying city council, some members of the city council, they just act like they don't care. You know, we've had city council members come into our neighborhood meetings and they sit there and they act concerned. Like I said, I'm in an older neighborhood. Biltmore Hills it's literally, we got a historic designation. It's a neighborhood where Black people were actually allowed to own homes. So most of the streets in our neighborhood, like I live on Fitzgerald Drive, it's actually Ella Fitzgerald Drive. So you have places where we've had city council members come and I've had neighbors say, listen, when the creek comes, the flood is happening in my backyard. And they say, okay, let me see what I could do about it. You never hear from them again. You never hear from them again. So, you know, that's why I'm running. And that's why I'm hoping a few other folks run, where not only just to change the narrative, but to change some of these seats where we may not be able to stop everything, but we may be able to slow some things down.
Well, I really appreciate that, Mr. Myrick. And also what I like about you is you've lived in a lot of places.
Yeah.
You've been hither and yon and all over. Yeah. But when you landed in Raleigh, you didn't come to say, hey, I want Raleigh to be like Chicago.
Exactly.
You've adopted Raleigh as your home, and you want to improve it as in its own natural state.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not about preserve, because I came here in 1990. But the story I tell folks is like, it was my first time being on a plane. And then when I took a cab, they dropped me off to the front of Shaw University. And I literally looked to my right, there was nothing there. There's some small houses there right now. And I looked behind me, Martin Luther King Boulevard didn't even exist. There was one house that was blue. And I tell folks that was the first time I saw the sky. As a kid coming from Brooklyn, you don't look up. You surround by buildings, you know. And I like, that's the first time I saw the sky. And I was in room 627, and I was able to look out and see nothing. It was amazing. So as I travel, I've seen. I don't even like to use the word gentrification. It's been overused so much. But when you see folks being forced out, and I say that because people usually equate gentrification to being just Black people being forced out, but it's low wage earners being forced out. You know, there's a lot of these neighborhoods are mixed now, so it's low wage earners that's being forced out.
Right.
So it's not even just about a certain population of people. It's as a race, but as a group, period, just being forced out of what you used to know as home.
We're being priced out. All of us that aren't on the super high production end.
Right. Like I was fortunate. I bought my house when I did. I bought my house in 20, I believe it was late 2018, early 2019, and I refinanced it. I bought it. I tell everybody, I bought this house for $130,000. I have a half acre of land, literally 5 minutes from the governor's mansion downtown. I paid $130,000 through my loan. I spent $50,000, $180,000. A year later, I refinanced for $325,000. Listen, and this was before COVID. At a 3.25% interest rate. My mortgage is still lower than the basement in Brooklyn.
Right.
So I'm fortunate that I got that opportunity when I did in 2019 to refinance, because there's folks offering me $500,000-$600,000 for my house right now. And like I said, my mortgage is still around $1,500. You can't get an apartment anywhere near me for that.
No.
Even now, the older homes like mine, before they fix them up, they selling for $300,000 now.
Well, you make a fine point. Just before we run out of time, Mr. Myrick, if anyone listening wants to support you, what's the best way to help you achieve your mayoral ambitions?
MyrickForMayor.com is the website. I'll take all donations. $5 is good enough for me, because if everybody do a little bit, we can accomplish a lot.
Yes.
So MyrickForMayor.com if they want to volunteer. If they would like a yard sign, it's free. Just go to contact the website. I'm willing to give them a yard sign. And I'm doing some canvassing if they don't mind coming out, doing some door knocking, because I believe in, meeting folks where they are. I've traveled, I've lived New York, LA, Chicago, but I love Raleigh. I'm not trying to keep it. I know you can't go back to $200 rent, but at the same time, there's folks who love this place here. The legacy residents are the one that have made this place the number one place to be. So let's not forget about them.
Well, Mr. Myrick, thank you for your insane willingness to run for mayor.
Thank you. Listen, thank you. So you got to be a little bit crazy when you want to do this, but it's okay. It's okay.
Well, we need more involved citizens who are going to advocate for the true citizens, not the development.
Right.
And Raleigh, this is Robert Courts telling you to please reach out to Mr. Eugene Myrick, your mayoral candidate, and help make Raleigh stay the best place to live, work, and play.
I agree. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Myrick. Let's wave him out. We'll see you soon, Raleigh.
All right. See you soon, Raleigh.